The Major Crimes Division in Boston wasn't impressive. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Old case files lined metal cabinets like rows of quiet gravestones. Detective Mara Quinn's desk sat near the back window. 2 monitors, 1 battered notebook, 3 open case folders, and 1 photograph. 2 young women stood in police academy uniforms, both smiling, both believing the future would behave itself. One of them was Mara, the other was Rachel Alvarez. Rachel had been Mara's best friend. 10 years ago, they had applied to the police academy together. Rachel never made it. She was found murdered behind a closed restaurant 3 months before training began. No witnesses, no weapon, no motive strong enough to hold in court. The case went cold. Most people accepted that. Mara didn't. She finished the academy anyway. Then she became the kind of detective who never stopped looking for answers. Rachel's file still lived in the bottom drawer of her desk, unsolved, not forgotten. Officially, Mara worked for Boston Major Crimes, but she was rarely in Boston. When investigations stalled, when evidence stopped making sense, when towns started believing stories instead of facts, departments called the state called Boston, and Boston sent Mara Quinn. She built a reputation for solving cases that had already failed once, which meant she spent more nights in roadside motels than in her own apartment. Her suitcase stayed half-packed beneath her desk, always ready. Raventon sat deep in the forests of northern Vermont. Population, 2,800. 1 highway in, 1 highway out. The town rested inside a valley surrounded by tall pines that turned nearly black at night. Fog rolled down from the hills every evening, drifting through the streets like quiet smoke. The people in Raventon spoke softly. Small towns always did when something bad had already happened. And lately, something very bad had. 3 people were dead, all connected to a single place, Red Marrow House. The Raventon police station had 3 offices and 1 hallway. Detective Lucas Hale stood near a desk reading the case file when Mara walked in. He looked up immediately. Tall, dark hair slightly too long, eyes sharp enough to suggest he didn't sleep much. "You must be Quinn." Mara nodded. "You must be the detective who asked for help." He extended his hand. "Lucas Hale." They shook. "Boston Major Crimes," Hale said. "Yeah, I've heard about you. Most of the stories are exaggerated." Hale slid the case file across the desk. "Good," he said, "because this case doesn't make any sense." The first victim was Clara DeWitt, a local historian researching the history of Red Marrow House. She was found in the mansion's library, sitting in a chair, hands gripping the armrests, face frozen in terror, blood running slowly from both ears. No weapon, no struggle. But every book in the room had been pulled halfway from its shelf. The second victim was Jacob Pell, 18 years old, a recent high school graduate. He and several friends broke into the estate late one night. Urban legend. Curiosity. Red Marrow House had always been part of Raventon folklore. Jacob never came out. His phone recorded 30 seconds of audio before he died. The recording contained static, footsteps, and a faint whisper-like sound no one could explain. The third victim was Martin Gable, owner of Raventon's hardware store. He had gone hiking near the estate and told his wife he planned to take a quick look inside. He never returned home. They found him near the mansion's staircase. Same condition, same bleeding ears, same expression of pure fear. The road to the mansion wound deep into the forest. Fog clung to the trees. The house appeared slowly through the mist. Massive stone walls, tall windows, a structure far too large for a quiet town like Raventon. Dr. Elias Marrow, a neurologist obsessed with human hearing, had built the estate in 1890. He believed the brain could detect sounds humans couldn't consciously hear. He called it the hidden frequency. Most people believed the doctor had gone insane. Locals claimed strange noises sometimes drifted from the house at night. Low vibrations, whispers in the wind. Mara didn't believe in ghosts, but she believed in evidence. Inside the mansion, dust drifted through their flashlight beams. The library still looked exactly like the crime photos. Thousands of books sat half-pulled from their shelves. Mara studied them carefully. Then one shelf caught her attention. She pushed the books inward. A deep mechanical click echoed behind the wall. The bookshelf slowly slid aside. Behind it stood a steel door. The door opened into a narrow hallway lined with thick acoustic insulation. At the end waited a heavy circular door. Inside was a strange chamber. Every surface was covered in wedge-shaped foam panels. An anechoic chamber, a room designed to absorb sound completely. Hale stepped inside and frowned immediately. This feels wrong. Mara understood. In normal rooms, sound bounced off walls. Here it didn't. Even their breathing sounded unnatural, like it existed only inside their skulls. A metal table inside the room held modern equipment. Oscillators, amplifiers, portable speakers. Someone had been conducting experiments here recently. A notebook sat beside the machines. One line was circled repeatedly. Hale exhaled slowly. That explains the victims. A loud thump echoed upstairs. Both detectives froze. Footsteps followed. Slow, heavy. Someone else was inside the mansion. They moved quickly up the staircase. The footsteps moved down the hallway above them. Then a door slammed. A figure suddenly burst into view and ran toward the far end of the hall. "Stop!" Hale shouted. The figure disappeared through a doorway leading to the balcony. Mara sprinted after them. She reached the door seconds later. The balcony outside was empty. No movement below. No one in the forest. Hale arrived beside her. Where did they go? Mara noticed something strange. One of the wall panels beside the doorway was slightly open. She pushed it. The panel swung inward. Behind it was a narrow spiral staircase hidden inside the wall, a Secret Service stairway. Hale stared down the dark steps. "Well, that explains the disappearing act." Mara's voice lowered. "Whoever ran from us knows this house very well." Later that night, Mara studied the case files again. Something connected the victims. Clara DeWitt, Jacob Pell, Martin Gable. At first, they seemed unrelated. Then Hale noticed the document. A town petition. Proposal: demolish Red Marrow House. All three victims had signed it. Clara wanted the land cleared for a museum. Jacob worked construction. Martin Gable owned the demolition equipment. Someone wanted the mansion to survive. The name surfaced quickly. Professor Eleanor Linden, former acoustic researcher. A scholar obsessed with the work of Dr. Elias Marrow. Her connection to the estate ran deeper than anyone in Raventon realized. Her grandfather had once been one of Marrow's students, studying under him in the final years before the doctor disappeared from academic circles. When Marrow died, many of his papers vanished. But not all of them. Linden's grandfather had quietly kept several journals, notebooks filled with strange diagrams, acoustic formulas, and long passages describing experiments conducted inside the Red Marrow House. The journals had been passed down through the Linden family for generations. Eleanor grew up reading them. To her, they were never just old research. They were unfinished work. One entry in particular had been circled again and again in the margins of the notebook, a sentence written in Marrow's careful handwriting. Silence is not empty. If the frequency is correct, something answers. Eleanor Linden had spent her entire career trying to prove that sentence was true. She had moved to Raventon 2 years earlier. Her cabin sat deep in the forest, 3 miles from the mansion. The forest road was dark and quiet. Fog curled around the trees. A dim light glowed in the professor's cabin window. Mara opened the door. Professor Linden sat calmly at a desk surrounded by equipment. She didn't look surprised. "I wondered when you would figure it out," she said. Lyndon spoke calmly. Marrow was close to discovering something extraordinary. "You mean the acoustic weapon?" Hale said. "No." Her eyes gleamed. "The frequency beneath human hearing." She turned a monitor toward them. A waveform pulsed across the screen. "Most people hear nothing at that range," she said. "But the brain still reacts." Mara studied the graph. "You used it to kill them." "I used it to protect the discovery," Lyndon replied. "They wanted to destroy the house." Lyndon activated a hidden speaker system. A deep vibration filled the room. Mara felt the pressure instantly. Her vision blurred. Blood trickled from Hale's ear. Mara forced herself forward. She fired once. The bullet shattered the amplifier. The vibration stopped instantly. Hale tackled Lyndon. She didn't fight. She simply stared at Mara. "You destroyed it," she whispered. "No," Mara replied. "I stopped it." By morning, the cabin and Red Marrow House was sealed by state investigators. The equipment was confiscated. Professor Lyndon was arrested and transported to a federal detention facility. The official explanation was simple: illegal acoustic experimentation, 3 murders. Case closed. Raventon returned to the kind of quiet small towns prefer. The quiet where people pretend nothing strange ever happened. But not everyone believed the story was finished. Later that evening, Mara sat at a small table in the Raventon diner reviewing the recovered recordings. Across from her, Detective Lucas Hale watched the rain slide slowly down the window. For the first time since she arrived, the town looked peaceful. Hale studied her for a moment. "You always work like this?" he asked. "Like what?" "Like you're trying to solve something that isn't in the case file." Mara didn't look up from the laptop. "Most answers aren't." Hale nodded slowly. He had heard stories about Mara Quinn before she arrived. Detectives in Boston talked about her like a rumor, the one they sent when things got strange, the one who noticed details no one else saw. Now he understood why. It wasn't brilliance. It was patience. She simply refused to stop looking. Hale respected that more than he expected. Mara played the final recovered audio file. A low vibration filled the speakers. 17. 4 hertz. Barely audible. Then something else appeared beneath it, a second waveform. Irregular, almost organic. Hale leaned forward. "You see that?" Mara stared at the screen. The pattern looked almost like speech. Almost like breathing. But it wasn't mechanical noise. Finally, Hale asked quietly, "You think Lyndon was telling the truth?" Mara closed the laptop slowly. "I think she believed she was." Outside the diner, the rain had stopped. Fog drifted through the streetlights. Hale walked Mara to her car. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Hale said, "You know, Boston Major Crimes is hiring." Mara glanced at him. "You thinking about transferring?" Hale shrugged. "Small towns are quiet." He looked toward the forest surrounding Raventon, sometimes a little too quiet. Mara studied him for a moment. "You'd miss this place." "Maybe," he said. Then he added with a faint smile, "But solving cases like this doesn't happen in towns like Raventon very often." There was something in his voice. Not pressure, not expectation, just the possibility of future work, maybe even future partnership. Mara opened the car door. "If you ever do apply," she said calmly, "Boston could use another detective who doesn't scare easily." Hale smiled slightly. "I'll keep that in mind." Before Mara drove away, Hale spoke again. "Hey, Quinn." She looked back. "That thing in the recording." "What about it?" "You never answered the question." Mara raised an eyebrow. "What question?" Hale gestured toward the laptop in the passenger seat. "You think there was something else in that frequency?" Mara looked toward the dark forest at the edge of town. The trees moved softly in the wind. For a moment it almost sounded like whispering. Then she turned back to him. Sometimes silence is just silence. She paused. But sometimes her voice lowered slightly. Something is listening. Hale watched her drive away down the fog-covered road. For a long time, he stood there in the quiet. Then he looked back toward the dark outline of Red Marrow House deep in the trees. And for the first time since the investigation began, he wondered if this case was truly finished. Thank you for staying until the end of this story. If it haunted you, moved you, or lingered in your thoughts longer than you expected, then this story has found its place. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more narratives like it, please consider subscribing to the channel. Don't forget to give a thumbs up. New stories will continue to unfold here. Until next time, listen closely. The past has a way of whispering back.